It's 7:02, and I call this regular scheduled school board meeting into order. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt agenda, Scott Brown.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael. James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Let the attendance report show that all members were present. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 11th, 2023 regular school board meeting?
Motion approved, Scott Brown.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Financial report.
Good evening. For the financial report, Ms. Marshall's going to load that up for us, but you will see a 10.1 decrease in revenues from December of 22 to December of 23. And when she gets that up, that decrease is due to a reduction of the beginning balance and a reduction in property tax collections from the prior year of approximately $1.2 million. Now, we do anticipate an influx of collections for the month of January, and that deficit should be closed. And as a matter of fact, I looked today, and we did have a deposit of $2.3 million today for those property tax collections. So next month, that report will be a little bit different. We do continue to see increased revenues from motor vehicle and utility taxes, as well as income from our interest on investments. Motor vehicle revenue has increased approximately $118,000 from the prior year, while utility tax revenues are up approximately $283,000 from the prior year. Our interest on investments has increased over $120,000 year to year, and that is primarily due to the money market account that I spoke about last month. SEEK revenue does show approximately a 3% reduction from year to year, and that is held true pretty much every month, between 2.8 to 3% reduction. For our expenditures, our salary and benefit costs continue to show an increase of 5.2%, which is reasonable based on the step and 3% that was approved back in April. Our non-salary expenditures increased 2.8% from the prior year, and as I've noted previously, we continue to see increased costs for operational supplies, as well as an increase in our property insurance. In December, we took possession of 3 new school buses. That was the order from this year. The ones that were ordered last year still have not arrived. But we did pay for those buses this month as well, and that was about $417,000 worth of those expenditures. So, any questions?
We already paid for the buses that we purchased last year. Thank you.
Is there any kind of ETA on those? I said, is there any kind of ETA on those? Got it. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the financial report?
I make a motion to approve Peggy Peach.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With first and second, can I go a roll call vote, please?
Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Orders of the treasurer.
Any questions regarding the orders?
I have no questions.
If no questions, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion approved, Scott Brown.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, home with your family and friends. And I'd like to welcome all of our students and staff back. We had a great start to the new year last Thursday and Friday. So I'd like to remind all of our parents and families and students that we are entering inclement weather season, and to please make sure that you get your information updated in the system with new phone numbers, anything that has changed, in case that we do have to do communication for inclement weather and or NTI. Also, I'd like to invite you to also review all of the NTI information that the school sent home in December, because we do have a different change in process, and all of our schools did a great job of communicating that out, and they're not all the same as far as levels go. So our K through 8 has one approach, and our high school has a different approach. So please make sure that you take time to review that information that the schools shared out via their website and or one call in December. If you do need assistance printing any of the information, please make sure that you notify your school's principal or your student's school principal and or someone at the school, the teacher, that can help you get a copy of that information. Tonight, we do have a very special recognition. January is always School Board Appreciation Month. So tonight, I'd like to recognize the Anderson County School Board members for their exceptional leadership and thank them for all that they do for our students, our staff, our families, and our wonderful community. As Kentucky observes our School Board Recognition Month in January, Anderson County Schools is joining in the celebration. Board Chair Jason Collins, 3 years of experience. Vice Chair Scott Brown, 10.5 years of experience. James Sargent, 11 years of experience. Peggy Peach, 4 years of experience. And Steve Carmichael, 1 year of experience, are among the more than 850 school board members in the state's 171 school districts being recognized this month for their service. This is the perfect time to thank the school board members for serving in the role that has becoming increasingly, as we all know, more complex. Members of the board of Anderson County are responsible for making decisions aimed at ensuring that every child in their district has a chance to be successful in both school and in life. To do that, members oversee a $33 million budget, keep up with changing education laws and policies, spend hours doing professional development and state-mandated training. And the voters of our community that have elected our local leaders should be very proud. They strive very hard to ensure that we do have a high-quality education in every school, in every classroom. At a time given when we all know that state and federal funding continues to shrink, our school board members have not flinched in the face of the challenges or shied away from their responsibilities. Our community can be very proud of this team of board members, and I'm very proud to be their partner striving for educational excellence for each and every one of our children. Tonight we say thank you. Thank you, school board members, for your strong leadership, your passion for public education, your love for Anderson County students, staff, and our community. And a humble thank you for your continued support as we work together to make the best decisions we possibly can for our school district. I'm grateful for each of you and the value that you bring to the Anderson County leadership team. Your work is recognized and appreciated on behalf of Anderson County schools, students, and staff. I hope you enjoy the cards, the gifts, the delicious meal that our elementary principals created tonight, especially for you. A humble thank you to each of you for all that you do each and every day for the students, the staff, the families, and our wonderful community. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause, can we please? Chairman, that's all I have this evening.
Next up would be comments from visitors, and I do not believe that we had any.
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the construction updates. First is construction payments. Payment summary 3 for project BG 23-130 Anderson County Middle School and Saffel. Considerations to approve the following payments as outlined in the payment summary 3 for the Anderson County Middle School and the Saffel Elementary project BG 23-130.
Good evening. So as far as construction update goes, construction in earnest has started at the middle school outside of just the GO well field. We have blocked off one of the pods of the middle school and started doing the HVAC renovation in that area. All that's going real well. And a small amount of work started over at Saffel. They've just done some preliminary stuff, running some wire and getting ready to do the HVAC controls over there. Outside of that, by and large, they've continued to work on the geo well field, but everything's going well. And outside of that, that's about the long and short of it. One thing that I do have is a previous meeting a couple months back, there was a question about pricing for some additional lighting in the areas that we are already going to be removing the ceilings in over at the middle school. I do have that pricing back. The contractor set the pricing in, architect and engineer and myself, we've all reviewed it. We find it to be in pretty good order. The total cost for that is $130,431.85. In consideration of that, that is a total of 402 lights that are being replaced throughout. So just kind of as a reference, per light, you're looking at $324, $325 a light, which is really, I mean, that's pretty reasonable for replacing those fixtures with LEDs. And we can go ahead and, if however the board wants to, if you all want to discuss it and come back to it at a later date, that's fine. But just that's what the pricing is, and I just wanted to give you all an update on that.
Thank you.
Yes. Fluorescent. Yes, ma'am. That is, Terry, that is, yes, that is correct. Over time, you would have energy savings. I don't have calculations on that right now, but there would be a savings with the LED, yes, and there'd be a savings with the bulbs. The longevity of the light is it's a lot better. Eventually, if the light goes out, you're going to have to replace that fixture instead of replacing a bulb. But the cost, you're going to have energy cost savings, and you're going to have savings in just replacing bulbs regularly. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So we haven't started this work yet, and that's why I'm presenting it to you now. The best case scenario, if you all were to approve that, this would be the time to do it in order to get the materials here by the summer in order to replace all those lights. And we would actually try to accommodate and start replacing some of those lights in the spring, during spring break or something like that, work some of that in to try to cut some of the work out. That's all going to take place in the summer, but this would be the time to do it when that ceiling's open. I'm sorry? That was that pricing that I just shared. Yes, sir. That was the pricing from the contractor who is currently on site to do the rest of the work. If we were to, it would be another project outside of this if we were to solicit bids on top of that. If with it being taken part of this project right now, the easiest way to do it would be going through the contractor who's currently doing the electric work. I'm sorry, his name's Jason Sanders from here. I just can't remember the name of his company. Jason Sanders, Total Power. Yeah, Total Power. Yes, sir. For 402 lights.
You're getting rid of 402 ballasts you have to deal with all the time. The fluorescents take a lot of energy to start up. Once they're up, they're probably equivalent to the LED as far as wattage, but you save a lot to start up, and it'll cut the maintenance guys' work in half, and you won't have any repairs on the lights.
Yeah. No, and I understand if you all would like to talk about it or
That's the problem I got. Plus, I like to see bids. That's a lot of money to spend. And we've already been talking about, we're going to have to tighten our belts because of the situation.
Understood.
Just so that everyone understands, this is just an update on this project. We did discuss the lighting prior to, did not put it in the project. So I believe what Mr. Osborne is suggesting is that if you all are interested in considering this, this would be a change order. And he was just wanting, I think, at tonight's meeting, just to provide the information so that you would know the cost of that, to see if we wanted to proceed forward in a future board meeting to put it on the agenda. Is there any additional information you'd like to share regarding that?
No, ma'am, that's it. No, yeah, I wasn't asking for a decision, no. No,
I
I
don't-
understand that
I
entirely.
appreciate that, Mr.
I
Sargent.
wasn't,
We're not prepared to do that tonight.
no, that's okay, I understand. Yeah, no, I understand completely, absolutely. All right. Yes, sir. We're good.
Sir, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Ms. Suzanne, are you going to give any project update as well?
I was going to just speak a minute about the work at the Saffel Street cafeteria. There has been structural bracing placed on the exterior of the cafeteria, and so that has stabilized the cafeteria structure. And so now the staff and students can use just the kitchen area of that. We still don't want any students using the dining area. So that is substantially complete and has been deemed to have met the needs of the construction documents, which is to stabilize that structure. So the next step in this process is that we are developing what we are calling the repair work to the structure, which we are handling as a separate project. Since the facility is stabilized, we have plenty of time to go through the design process and to bid the work out for the repair work. So that's part of what we're undertaking, and we're working with our structural engineer. And next month, we'll have prepared a draft of a proposed BG1 for that project. It is. So there were several things that we feel contributed to it. One, the way that part of the building was designed is that it is a combination of a steel structure where it has steel beams and steel columns, and those columns are embedded into a concrete masonry wall. So everything between the steel columns is concrete masonry. There was a time when it was acceptable or it was common practice. It was not one of our buildings, but it was common practice to embed steel into concrete masonry. The problem is steel buildings have a lot more movement to them, and concrete masonry units don't tolerate that. And so you have a lot of cracking. And the design of this also was such that those concrete masonry walls were trying to act as a diaphragm or a lateral bracing for the steel structure. That also does not work very well because, as I said, steel moves a bit, the concrete masonry doesn't tolerate any movement, it cracks, and so therefore then that lateral bracing isn't effective once the movement occurs and the concrete masonry units have cracked. So that has happened, and then we also feel that there has been a bit of settling on the outside walls at the foundation. We feel that that settling has probably done all the settling that it's going to do, so we don't feel that that's an issue. What we're trying to do is to remove the concrete masonry walls and brick veneer to lighten the load, to lighten the load on the foundation, and then also to add back steel bracing, and then the finish or the wall that will create the envelope of the building will be a lighter construction, which will be a steel stud construction with a metal panel exterior. So the look of it will be very different, but it will take weight off of that foundation and also allow for greater structural bracing.
I'm very familiar. I had a barn built, and it was built concrete and the pillars down, posts down in the concrete. And exactly what you said.
Right.
The concrete eventually over time cracked. The wind come up last year, we had all that wind and blowed the whole thing down. And it wasn't
Yeah.
that old. And that's exactly what happened to
Right.
my barn.
Right. So it's a similar scenario, and we do not detail buildings. RTA doesn't detail buildings that way, but when this was built, it was an acceptable detail. Yeah, yeah.
Live and learn.
That's right. That's right.
We find out our plan wasn't as great as what we thought. We're all known to do. Thank you.
So, anyone have any other questions on that update? Also, we have on here a proposed change order for that project, and what that consists of is to build a construction barrier so that it's a little bit more of a enclosure for the students that will be traveling in and out of the service area, and that will just keep them from being able to kind of get into that dining area.
Are you talking about like a plywood wall type of?
Yes, so it would be a wood stud wall with plyboard
Right.
on the service side, so that it looks more like a finished wall, and it's secure for the kids not to get out into the. It's a temporary structure for the use of it, so that they can use the serving line. Right now, they have just a pathway designated for them to go, but this is for an actual built wall. It won't go all the way to the ceiling, but it's to just act as a barrier. So that's what the change.
More like what we had at the high school.
Yeah. So that's what the change order is for. Do you all have any questions about that at all? It's
Change order
It's
was
about $4,000.
$4,150.
We've got it on down.
And it'll come out of the contingency fund.
Yes, it's well under the contingency, and there's also an allowance that was unused in that project for unsuitable soils that was not used as well within that allowance too. So it's not changing the overall amount, but using money that's already set aside. I guess, and then the other thing that I did want to mention also is there were some concerns about some cracking at in other areas, not in the cafeteria, in other areas at Saffel Street and also at the middle school. We have conducted observations of that, and we have had our structural engineers come and do extensive observation and recommendation. Their recommendation, they feel confident that it is not a life safety danger in any way, that those cracks that we observed were due to settlement that is not, it's not endangering any inhabitants of the buildings. But we do want to propose those cracks be monitored to see how fast that if they're continuing to open up or if the settlement has ceased. And then that will determine whether it's just an aesthetic issue of fixing the cracks, or if they are continuing to move, then there may be other methods of kind of shoring up the areas that are settling. So the proposal tonight is for the existing solid ground company who does the special inspections for the projects that are current, adding to their scope of work, which is to monitor those cracks. So that's the proposal.
With those being in a straight line like that, is there some sort of geological plate or anything kind of in that area?
So we have talked about that. We don't, I don't think that there is, you know, Kentucky is notorious for having a lot of subsurface structures that cause sinkholes. It seems unlikely, given that, like at Saffel Street, those cracks that have just appeared are in very much, very older parts of the building. So it seems, we're still investigating that,
Yeah.
but the first level is to kind of monitor like how fast that settlement is really occurring.
Right. Okay.
So I don't think that it's, I think most, that settlement can be remedied through, helical piers or things like that can be done from the outside of the building. I don't think we're dealing with like a major sinkhole event,
Right.
but we don't know that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do know, like, on each side of Lawrenceburg, we kind of have a plate.
Yeah.
There's really nothing marked,
Not
but
that
that
we
doesn't
know
mean
of.
that doesn't mean it's not there.
Right. So, but part of it is this is just giving us more information to know like what else needs to be investigated. So, but
Thank you.
We are on the New Madrid fault here in Kentucky also, especially in western Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And it might be, we might want to check and make sure to see if we have earthquake insurance. You never know. They keep saying one's coming. So it's not very high, earthquake insurance. And so.
Well, there's been several mini quakes, especially down in the Tennessee area. And so, well worth looking into. Thank you.
Suzanne.
thank you.
Make a motion to approve the BG
Well,
23.
I got ahead of it, so,
We didn't set it.
yeah, okay.
Can do it again, or?
Yeah, go ahead. The Central Kentucky sheet metal of $18,580.62. Codell Construction for $11,698.37, and $30,000 with a total of $30,278.99.
Motion to approve, Scott Brown.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With a first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sir Jason Collins,
Yes.
Scott Brown,
Yes.
Steve Carmichael,
Yes.
James Sargent, Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Change order for project BG 24-178, construction to approve, consideration to approve the change order in the amount of $4,150 to construct a temporary barrier at Saville Street Elementary.
Suzanne just talked about that. Is there any further discussion?
No, I think we keep the kids safe. Motion to approve, Scott Brown.
Second,
Peggy Peach.
With a first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins,
Yes.
Scott Brown,
Yes.
Steve Carmichael,
Yes.
James Sargent, Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Construction payment for BG 24-178, consideration to approve the payment in the amount of $77,160.57 per pay application number 1 for Hawkins Construction for Saville Street Elementary Emergency Bracing Project.
This is the pay app for the work on the cafeteria project that Miss Suzanne Irwin just referenced. Are there any further comments or discussion?
I thought it was 80,000 since listen. I thought,
So this is the portion
Yeah.
that is to be paid out. Is there any, he said he thought it was $80,000 and $3,000 difference.
yeah, okay. Motion to approve, Scott Brown.
second, Steve Carmichael.
With a first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Jason Collins,
Yes.
Scott Brown,
Yes.
Steve Carmichael,
Yes.
James Sargent, Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Monitoring of Saville and Anderson County Middle School structural systems. Consideration to approve the additional scope of work and additional fee to the existing contract with Solid Ground for special inspections for BG 24-178, project for the monitoring of structural cracks at Saville Street Elementary and the Anderson County Middle School, amount not to exceed $7,550.
This, I am correct to say this is outside of any project dollar amount, so this would come out of the general fund request. Is that correct? It's not part of the project? Okay, making sure everybody understood that.
This is for 1 year.
Okay. As they go.
Let me ask you a question. 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road, are you still gonna, do you think it would be wise for us to have some people come back in and re-monitor? As time, years down the road?
I think that the purpose of this is to monitor those cracks
basically let it go through a freeze and a thaw, and we'll figure out what it,
And if it responds to kind of the weather cycles, or if it's a kind of a continuous settling
Opening.
that's like just, or if it's a quick
Right.
settling kind of thing. So.
Okay.
But none of it is none of the walls that where cracks have appeared
Are-
are load bearing in such a way that it is endangering to the overall. They're aesthetically disturbing, but they're not structurally significant.
which is the most important, obviously. We have any more questions?
Motion approved, Scott Brown.
Can I get a second, please?
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With the first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Draft budget. Consideration to approve the draft budget as presented by Josh White, CFO.
Hello again. So the draft budget for fiscal year 25 is for next year. State law requires that I review this with you all by January the 31st, so that's why we are going through this. But right this minute, we really don't have a ton of information about fiscal year 25 and the revenue or expenditures we're going to have for that year. So it's kind of a limited amount of information. But nonetheless, we are required to do that, so we're going to. Right this minute, all I did was take the fiscal year 24 budget, roll it forward with a couple of very minor changes. The first one was a really small increase in revenues, and that, if you've heard me talk in the last few months, the motor vehicle taxes and utilities taxes, those revenues have been up a little bit. So I just accounted for that in the fiscal year 24, raised that a little bit, and then you've heard me talk about our starting balance was a little bit lower, so I accounted for that. So those are the two kind of changes so far for fiscal year 25 from the fiscal year 24 budget. So if I was going to come up and try and give you a really accurate budget, I would need all the information down the left-hand side of that page. We have an idea of what our enrollment is right now, so we have an estimate on that, but we don't know what our average daily attendance is going to be at the end of the school year. We have not really gotten to staffing levels at this point for next year yet, so we don't have that information. We don't know our property assessments for next year yet, so we don't have that. SEEK funding, don't know it yet. SEEK funding is going to tell us our local effort, so we don't know that yet. We do have some December 1 child count. That's our special ed population, so we have a little bit of information there. And we do have some information about retirement rates. So what's our contribution going to be for retirement? 2 years ago, the CERS KPPA group, it was about 26% was our side. This year it's down to 23%, give or take a few percent, or 0.3 something there. Next year they've published it's going to be right about 20%. So we do have that piece of information, but that's it at the moment. So 3 things known out of 9 or so that would give us an accurate depiction of where we're at. So some things that we need to consider as we move forward. At the end of fiscal year 22, we ended the year with approximately 10% contingency, and Ms. Denise was here last month and kind of walked through some of this as well based on our audit. At the end of fiscal year 23, we ended with about 5% contingency as our balance. SEEK fund, from last year to this year, SEEK funding, we're down about 3% from the prior year. So that's something we need to consider moving forward. We're going to be down another 3%. We're not sure yet, and that's based on the next piece of information, which is those property values. So in the last few years, the value of property has been increasing, which has actually allowed a reduction in our rates. But every time that property value increases, the SEEK coming our way decreases. So basically, every $1 million increase in property value gives us about a $3,000 reduction in SEEK. And so we're talking billions of dollars of property when they really get down to it, or hundreds of millions. So there can be, 100 times increase by the millions gets us $300,000 less, or $30,000 less, or whatever the number may fall out to be there. All that means is there's greater local effort. right? We got to put more money in. Well, our money comes from local tax. So, but we don't know any of that right this minute. So I can't really give you an accurate depiction on that. I did leave in the same bus level funding from fiscal year 24. I know we always like to get some new buses, so hopefully that can cover the cost of 2 or 3 buses if that's the route we decide to go. Bus costs have gone up. $15,000, $20,000 a bus. All of a sudden, you can't get 3, you can only get 2 for the same amount of money. So we'll have to look at those costs as well. I mentioned staffing levels. We're going to start looking at those, reviewing those this spring for next school year. Roughly 80% of our overall budget goes towards salaries and benefits. So that's a big chunk. So that can make a big determination on where we go. I did not make any changes in the draft budget in terms of adjustments to salaries and benefits. Just for a piece of information there, that table, if you look at the current budget, where we're at right now, we've budgeted about $21.2 million out of the general fund for salaries. If we're going to do a 1% with the step increase, just estimating about $870,000. 3% with a step increase, estimating at about $1.3 million, and a 5% with a step increase, about $1.7 million will be an additional cost. And then kind of the big thing there is the ESSER funding. It's going to go away. That goes away September 24. We have to have those funds spent out. So costs that are coming from ESSER, we'll have to take a close look at really big expenditures. Some smaller expenditures may not be that big a deal. Maybe something we're not going to buy again, something we just needed for response to COVID or something along those lines. But if we have any large expenditures that have come from ESSER that are recurring, we're really going to have to take a look and see where we're going to plug those in for the following year. Some additional considerations. The 2024 legislative session is going on right this minute. That won't end until April 15th. They're the ones who are going to set the budget we're going to get, but they need me to come tell you guys about it right now. So that's kind of hard to do, but here we are again. The governor and the legislators, they've both kind of said they're going to be education friendly, but those are all proposals at this point. You know, the governor has talked about a 4% increase in SEEK, 11% pay raise for all staff. He can say whatever he wants until it's approved. It's just him saying something. So no matter where your politics fall, those are still proposals. Doesn't make any difference at this point. Last year, or the last 2 years, they've done a $100 increase in the SEEK funding. So if you take roughly 4,000 students at $100 increase, that's about $400,000 for us. When you saw the previous slide there, $400,000 is about a 0.5% increase in the salary. So you need about $900,000 to do 1% in the step. So even if the state does kick in another 100, it's still not going to cover, you know, some of those increases that we may like to do. The operating costs continue to increase. You hear me talk about it every month. Property insurance has gone up. Cost of diesel fuel goes up. We don't know where all those things are going to play out, so we'll have to get a little closer to some of our big expenditures, electricity, gas, water, you know, things that are fixed costs for us. But we have to operate. You can't really do school without power and electricity, or power and water. So we'll have to take a look at those, and if there's any way we can do anything to reduce that. And then the last page is just kind of the outline of all the budgets and where we fall. And that's the slide you're normally seeing, or the spreadsheet you're used to seeing. Not a lot of information to go on, but still have to present it. Questions? I'm sure we can, yes, sir. Yeah.
5 years ago, it was 100%. Every bus we had was over 10 years old.
I don't know the answer to that right off. I don't know if Mr. Harley knows that or not, but I'm sure it's something we can get.
Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Motion approved, draft budget, Scott Brown.
Can I get a second, please?
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Anderson County Middle School, CSIP report. Principal Gina Rose will present the annual CSIP report for the Anderson County Middle School.
Good evening. Ms. Mitchell has a packet there, a copy that for you all to look through if you want to do that. I'm not going to read it word for word to you, but you have it there to look at those. So we'll get started here with this. That's the first piece of information is just a little bit about the middle school, where we are this year with our enrollment. We have a mixture of some in-person. It's the 707 students as of today. I looked it up. Actually, Ms. Rogers said, you changed it at 5 o'clock, so I updated it. We do have 19 that are in our virtual Apex enrollment, but we're also servicing eight fifth graders that come over during the day for an accelerated math class. So we have 734 in the middle school enrolled within a middle school class during the school year, and that gives you a breakdown of our certified staff and our support staff. So we have a very wealthy group, a wealth of resources there for our building to do some of the new things that we have going on in the building that I'm going to talk to you about here in just a little bit. If I can get rid of that. There we go. So the opportunities that we offer, the different classes there at the middle school, are on the right side from our core classes, our enrichment. We have a support instruction for intervention and gifted and talented in ESL, but also our extracurricular and athletic teams that we have going on, and gaming clubs and different things for students to be involved in. The left side of that, I want to call attention to a couple of highlights that we do have at the middle school for this year. Currently, through the first semester, our attendance for the year has improved by 1.3% from the first day of school through Friday of last week compared to that same time frame the year before. So the kids are coming to school. That's a good thing. We want them there. And part of our reason behind that is we believe the change in structure of how we're providing class for our reading and math and our science and social studies classes. But at the same time, our attendance has increased, so we have more students in the building. Our behavior, our discipline has decreased by 28% in that same time frame. So the opportunity for more instruction to occur rather than addressing behavior issues is happening just with that. So that was a highlight that I wanted to bring out because the teachers and students have worked really hard to make those gains this year. There is an increase in the student learning in our classrooms, the engagement through our station teaching. I'll go into that a little bit more. And the student mastery is improving along with the different changes we've made in our instructional structures within the classes. So we have 5 goals at the middle school. The first one is reading and math. You can see and this is our 1-year goal for this year that will get us to the 3-year goal of the 70%, as Mr. Murphy had presented in December for the district. So the increment, the 1-year increment for the middle school to have the reading and the math proficiency to get to 70% is we need reading to be at 55% proficiency and our math to be at 47% proficiency for this year. So each of those have a different amount of increments. It's like an 8% for reading each of the 3 years, and it's an 11% for the math. And we're reaching those on a weekly basis right now with our weekly formative checks. Our second goal is the science, social studies, and writing. And again, our goal is to be at 70% in 3 years. And so the increments for science and social studies is to get to 40% by the end of this year. That is a 15% gain from where we were last year. And then our writing to be at 43% to get to that 70%. And that is an 8% gain from last year. Then our achievement gap. Our special education for reading and math, we are aiming for that to be at 30% proficiency for that group compared to the whole population. One good news that I didn't include in the highlight is the work that we did last year focusing on special education. We did get out of the TSI, the Targeted Support and Intervention status for the federal and state level. So we did make a gain there. We're no longer in that category, but we still want to improve in that area. And then our other one is the economically disadvantaged, the free and reduced lunch population in reading and math. We want to improve that to 40%. As well. So as we're moving the whole group, we also want to target those two gap populations as well. Those three goals are the content goals that really focus around the reading, the math, science, and social studies. And the way we're going to do that is we've worked, as the whole district has this summer, and we continue to do that this fall, on the alignment of the instruction and our assessments with the standards to make sure that everything is directly aligned, and identify where we need to bring in some reteaching for some skills that may be deficit, especially that we've seen due to COVID and what happened 3 years ago with that. The big thing of our instruction is the station teaching. I would encourage each of you to come in and visit a math classroom or a language arts classroom to see how we have transformed two classrooms really into one big classroom with a wall and a door in between. And we've taken, it's not the small groups of like 4 or 5 or 8 in a group, but we've taken groups of 32 and we've made them into groups of 15 or 16, which is more individualized, so we can address at each of the different levels. And they may change based on what they do in their weekly learning checks. So the weekly learning checks has let us make sure that we address individual students' needs, what needs to be retaught, what can be accelerated, all within a 60-minute class period. And before we weren't able to do that just because we weren't thinking out of the box. And this year we have. It was a growing pain for the first couple of months, but they've all embraced it. And again, it's kept students engaged. And that's where the behaviors decrease, is because their time is being spent on instruction and learning and interaction with their peers within those small groups. Science and social studies and writing are doing that. They do not have the same structure as far as having 3 teachers in a classroom the way we've done with the math and the reading, but they can do groups, 2 stations within a classroom, and so they're doing that 2 to 3 times a week. Math and reading are doing it every day, all day, in every class period. We are doing weekly formative learning checks. Daily, we've always done the daily ones, but now we're doing it for the weekly as well to make sure we're monitoring it and being able to adjust our instruction for the next week and not waiting until just a unit assessment to go back and reteach. We continue the focus on the writing in the content areas, along with our high-yield instructional strategies and our Kagan structures to increase that academic discussion and student engagement. But again, it allows us to do the individualized reteaching based on student performance data each day and each week. And then we bring back in also things that we've taught previously, like in August. We are bringing that into the station teaching as well. So we're getting daily instruction, new instruction. We're reteaching that new instruction, but we're also providing instruction on content we taught at the beginning of the year. So 3 different kinds of instruction are happening within one class period in a math or a reading classroom. It's a busy place. Again, I encourage you to come see it. Goal 4 is our English language learners. They blend right in with the rest of that, and that's where those groups and stations come into play and help this area as well. Our goal is for 50% or higher of those to achieve proficiency in reading and writing, and it's really the same way we're going to do those that we've been doing with our other content areas, is the high-yield strategies, the Kagan, the student engagement, analysis of student work, to make sure we're individualizing their needs. And then our 5th one. This is an area that, and I'll kind of speak for Mr. Glass on this one too. This is climate and safety is an area that's more challenging for middle school and high school, just due to the nature of the socialization they have with social media, their interpretation of how they think it's okay to joke with each other. So part of our strategy on that is just to work more on emphasizing and focusing on good character qualities. We do that with morning advisory lessons on character, but also the different types of things we show on our morning news show about positive student interactions. They think joking with each other is a positive interaction, but they still have to understand how to accept how someone perceives it. So that's a teaching moment that we have to do. We are celebrating their performance more often, not just on big assessments like MAP or state assessments, but we're also doing it on the weekly because we've got those goals set, and those goals are weekly goals that they monitor to see how they're doing in the classroom for that week. For the behavior piece of it, we are working to increase communication with families and the students too for improving that student behavior by helping them understand the positive interactions and how it can be perceived differently just from one person to another. And then student support meetings as well with the students and counselors and administrators to develop support plans to help the students learn how to positively interact with peers, because COVID did impact middle school in a very difficult way with just interactions because of the social media. So our students and staff have really embraced a lot of new structures. The station teaching was extremely difficult to grasp in the setting that we have, but like I said, we're very fortunate to have those connecting rooms with that door that we turned into kind of like one big classroom. It'd be nice to kind of tear those walls down and just have one big open one while we're doing all this construction, but we'll settle with our door. But they've done well. The kids have embraced it, and those attitudes on those changes have made a big difference. We've continued it with our construction, where we've had to relocate 10 rooms for each one, and it was very smooth. We've utilized every space in the building, and we did it 5 days before they started it just for practice, and we didn't miss a beat of instruction. So they embraced the challenge, and they actually don't want to go back to those rooms now. So. But then the last little bit is just pictures to show the climate, the culture, some of the things that they've done this year that we've come together as a team, as a school, to support each other with the improvements that have been made. Even though there have been struggles and challenges along the way, they've done very well embracing all that. So bottom line is at the middle school, there's a lot that goes on, not just the academic side of it, not just the behavior side of it, but it's really just to care and grow our students in academics, but also behavior and character, just so they can do things for others, learn to do what's right for others, not about being right all the time. That's all.
Could I just say that's a great quote that you have at the end? And having been there a couple of times with the Purple Star and the Veterans Parade, your kids are very well behaved. I said this before. That's a compliment to you and your staff, because there was a lot of transition the time I was there, and kids were just very well behaved. And I know the staff was proud of that, but their parents, grandparents, folks at home can be equally proud of the behavior. And when I saw that 28%, that's a big factor in how well kids do in middle school, as far as how successful they can be. If they're focused, attentive, they have structure, they're much more successful. So I appreciate that very much.
They're kids. They're just adults in smaller bodies at the time, and so this is the time where we do have to teach them character, because character will get them through a lot of other things when they have to make tough decisions, and the academic piece will come with that. You're going to see goofy moments if you walk in there just on a day, but when the time is right, they do know how to behave. They sure do.
Your education will get you a job. Your character will help you keep it.
Yes. But I do encourage you to come see, because we do have a lot going on over there. We've got great kids, and we've got great staff. They're working really, really hard.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ruth. This was information only, so there's no motion needed. Next up is Robert B. Turner, CSIP report. Robert B. Turner, Principal Jason Alexander will present the annual CSIP report for Robert B. Turner Elementary School.
go. Good evening. Thank you, guys. It's always, I know there's maybe a big game going on this evening. I don't want to take up too much time, but I am excited to have the opportunity to talk about Turner Elementary and just the awesome things that we've got going on. So if you give me those few moments, I'm going to take them. But thank you for the opportunity tonight to just share about our team. But if you'll notice, I start out with together everyone accomplishes more, and we really believe that. And I'm big on team. I'm big on teamwork, and whether it be here, church, personal life, just you got to have a team, and that's what it's all about. But real quick, our mission statement is respect our students, believe in our students, teach and prepare our students for the future. And that's what we try to do each and every day. I talked about this last year, but we made a focus on what it means to be a Titan. And so we talk about this every day with the kids. Miss Riley, my counselor, does this actually a classroom leads this along with our pledge. But we talk about just what each thing represents, and the T, take responsibility, I am respectful, think positive, act safely, and never give up. And so we really spend a lot of time and just focus on what it means to be a Titan. And we take pride in that. I try to tell the kids, hey, not everybody gets to be a Titan. And it's something that I take pride in, and I know our staff does too. So I'm grateful for that. You may come and visit us and hear kids that say, hey, I worked really hard because the end says never give up. So that's what we do. So this is one of the, we've got two of these coming down our first grade hall and our third grade hall, but the kids will see this every time in transition. This is a big banner that Young and Thread made for us, and it just reiterates our Titan expectations. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but we were very proud that we were able to achieve Blue status for Kentucky State Assessment this past year. So if you'll see here, we've got some students in the middle there. It's a great day to be a Titan. It's always a great day to be a Titan, but it was a special day to be a Titan on this celebration day. So we brought out the red carpet, and we celebrated, had some blue lights to shine the school. We had blue lights in the hallway, and we just had a really big special time. So I just wanted to show you some pictures there of that. One of the other things that we do to try to encourage our kids, this is a picture of Mr. Civil's class in 4th grade. They were our most recent attendance award winners. So one of the different things that we've done this year is Miss Riley does our announcements through Google Meets. And it's been really good. It's been really fantastic. So the funny thing is I'm the one that gets to take this trophy down. And so I'm carrying my phone as we're walking down the hall. I've got the trophy, and all the kids are just, anticipating, are we going to be the winners? And so it's really fun because you can stop beside a class. Now we'll keep going. And so Mr. Civil's class won. There was some big-time competition down in this grade level, and actually he made his own little trophy there. If you see, it says best attendance in town. So those little things are just another reason that makes Turner a special place. And I know all the schools are doing those types of incentives and challenges, but it's just a way to get kids excited and another reason to want to be there. So I promise I won't make you guys watch all of this if I can get this to work. But I did have to show just a few. Well, let's see here. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not too techy, but this was on the day that we had our red carpet celebration. So we had music, and there's Mr. Davis there. He was actually subbing that day, but he got right in the fun. So we had a blast. The kids really enjoyed that. The staff enjoyed that, and so we just had some music and wanted to really celebrate the accomplishments and of their hard work. And also, Ms. Williams, I want to give you a huge shout out because you made that possible. You came and joined us on that morning very early, beat the traffic, and made sure that we got all those great pictures and filmed, and then put it together so that we could spotlight that out. So thank you for that. The other thing that Ms. Riley does in the morning, we do a gratitude. This is just one of the words, but RBT's word of the week, gratitude. So just another way. I just want to build up the reason that I think we're an awesome place and an awesome school. It's not just about academics. It's not just about scores. It's far more than that. And I think when you do all the little things and all the other things, that's what takes care of everything else. So just another way that we try to show our kids what it means to be responsible and strong Titans. So just some quick demographics. We're growing. At the beginning of the school year, back in the fall, we were pushing 600 students. We were around 595-ish range, which is really, really good. Proud of that. We have, each grade has, kindergarten through 5th, has 4 teachers per grade, which is the largest that we've had from my recollection since we've been a school, since we merged into Turner from Western. So excited about that. I hope we continue to grow. I'd be all right if we just add on and build another wing maybe and just keep bringing the kids in. But right now, when I did this, we're at 587. There's just a snapshot from Infinite Campus of just some demographics, kind of what I just shared as well. But a little bit about who we are. So we talk a lot about being a Titan and we're a family. We're about kids. You know, we take care of each other. We do the little things and we go above and beyond just to make it happen. And the one thing that I want you to hear me say tonight is that we're blessed. We're blessed with the best teachers and staff, I think, in the country. I'm going to say that, and I believe that. And I also believe that we have just amazing kids and amazing families that just to show up and partner with us, and it just makes for an awesome environment. And we talk a whole lot about just we're Team Titans. So if you've ever been to one of our family nights, if you've been to Titan Fest, if you've been to, I know Mr. Carmichael Grace, he came out and hung out for Pumpkin Palooza. I don't know what it is, but when we have those events, everybody shows up, and it's amazing. It's a special thing that I can't really explain, but I'm grateful for. Staff show up, parents show up, kids show up, and it's awesome. So I invite you to anytime we have anything, please come out. I'd love to have you. We'd love to just have you come out and see the great things we got going on. So here's just some pictures. This was from our reading and math night along with Pumpkin Palooza. We served a lot of food, a lot of chili and hot dogs that evening. Miss Lori Cox, fantastic cafe manager, she helped us with that. Here's our first grade music program back before Christmas, and it was a packed house. They did a fantastic job. Miss Jury and her special area team did amazing. So just wanted to give you some backstory on that, why I think Turner is special. And quickly, too, it's a great day to be a Titan again. One of the things I could not say tonight is we were a green school back 21-22, and we were very proud of that, and we celebrated that. And then this past year, we were a blue school. So excited by that. We're in the top 10%. We're working on getting a banner outside in the front and in the hallway that's going to say we are blue because of you. Because we honestly know that we're blue because of everybody. It takes everybody, kids, parents, staff, to make it happen. The other thing that I wanted to share tonight that we've worked with through CKEC, Mr. Young, is one of the metrics that we looked at as top performing schools, proficient, distinguished. There would be 55 to 70% range with a novice range of 8 to 15%. So I'm going to go through here, and I just want to give you a few seconds to look at this. So this is our Turner Elementary's scores as far as where we were on KSA. So if you'll notice right there, the top performing schools, this is just their metrics that they came up with. The schools that perform the best are usually fall in the 55 to 70% range. All right, our goal last year, if you remember, was 65%. We wanted to shoot for 65% proficient distinguished, 10% or less, 10 to 15% or less novice for reading and math. So I'm very proud we hit those goals, 66%. I won't read all those. You can look at them, but extremely proud of that. Extremely proud of our students scoring novice. We were in those metrics as well, and I'm just grateful. It's the hard work of the teachers, it's the hard work of the students, and the dedication that made that happen. So our goals for this year, for the 23-24 year, is basically we want to bump those to 68% proficiency, and we want to strive for in reading to continue at the novice at 10% or less and 22% or less apprentice in reading. In math, we want to continue and kind of increase that to 68% or kind of maintain, and decrease student scoring novice to 8% or less and 24% or less in apprentice by the end of the year. So kind of where we were at 65% proficiency last year, we want to kind of maintain that and see if we can bump it up to 68%. For separate academic indicator, so if you remember, we were around the 55 to 59% range in any of those categories, science, social studies, and writing. Our goal is to try to get that to around 60% or higher, both on MAP and or KSA assessments, and to continue to maintain our novice percentages. In science and social studies, we were around 6% or 5%. That's pretty impressive. So very grateful for that as well. Some of our GAP goals, we would like to reduce the percentage of GAP for introduced students in 3rd through 5th grade, scoring novice and apprentice, to 55% in reading, down to 45% or less. Same thing for 3rd through 5th grade GAP for introduced students in reading, from 45 to 53% for that proficiency range. And one of the areas that we want to work on too is to increase the students with disabilities scoring proficient or distinguished in reading and math on our KSA assessment, from that 61.2, that's not percentage, but that's points, to 64 or higher. So how do we maintain that? I've talked about that a little bit. I'm big on the culture. I think the culture and those positive relationships and the traditions of just having that family atmosphere, I think it speaks for our success. You know, we work on building those relationships. We want to focus and align that instruction, targeting the standards. We've done a lot of that work this summer. And again, continue with those teacher leaders. I'm big on that and big on team. And then one of the things that we've talked about this year is just consistency over intensity. And so that's one of the things that we've talked about as a staff and as a group. And one thing that I failed to mention that I didn't have in here, but I've got to say it, is I'm proud of this too. We were 16th ranked elementary school in CKEC out of 149. And then again, top 10% of all elementary schools in the state. So very proud and just honored to be part of that and to lead alongside and work with amazing people. And, you know, when people ask me that, you know, I just say we're blessed. We're blessed with amazing people in an amazing district. And just, like I said, if you come out one night when we have an event, you'll see. You'll see. And I love that, and I'm proud of that, and just grateful for your all support, and grateful for our school and our team. But I'll end with this, and I think it's true. Mr. Reese said it often, and we preach about it all the time too, is it's all the little things. It's not one, this, that, or the other. It's a lot of little things done consistently over time, and that's what makes big things happen. And sorry for the you guys rock. This was part of my presentation to staff. But you guys do rock. So that's all that I have. Absolutely. Thank you for that, sir.
I agree. I'm not an architect or engineer, but I'd like to know the rationale for how that parking was designed as far as that entrance and exit on there. And I would just say that family atmosphere was fun just to stand there and watch. My wife came with me. We didn't have to do anything. We just stood there and watched a lot of really happy people having a great time and a great family kind of an experience. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's in essence, that's what we try to do every day, you know, and we try to work hard, and we can have fun and still get the job done and still work hard and make it happen. So thank you. But yes, I agree, Mr. Sarge. We've grown, and we could use a little bit of help there, but I understand too that it's a challenge.
And Miss Peggy's working on tier parking. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And again, please, if you would love to come out, we'd love to have you. And like I said last year, I know you'll get a friendly smile and a hello and a warm welcome if you join us. I can promise you that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Next up, we have donations over $1,000. I always try to give a big shout out to these. Consideration to approve the following donations over $1,000. Robert Weedo to Backpack Buddy Program, $6,491.50. Glenn and Susan Smith to Backpack Buddies Program of $1,000. Lawrenceburg United Methodist Church, Backpack Buddy, is that the, okay, that's the Backpack Buddies again for $1,716. Can I get a motion to accept these donations?
Motion, Peggy Peach.
Second, Scott Bram.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Healthy Schools Meals Report. Ronnie Fields, Director of Operations and Food Service, will present the 2023-2024 Health School Meals Report.
All right, thank you. So this is required by law, and we do this each year. It's the same basic process we've been doing over the last 5 or 6 years, but basically it involves our schools reviewing and revising their assessment on the Alliance for a Healthier Generation website. And there's a long series of questions where they can decide if they've met the needs for that particular section or not. And so they do all of that on the Alliance website, and then that helps us produce a district report, and it was posted on our website on October 23rd, 2023. The assessment areas, there are 6 of those areas: school health and safety, health education, physical education, nutrition services, healthy promotion for staff, family and community involvement. So there's several questions under each of those that the schools answer. It's required by law that each school create at least one goal and an action plan. So these are the school goals I'm presenting for the principals, and we'll go through each school briefly. So the Anderson County High School, their goal is stress management for staff, and their action plan involves guidance staff will implement monthly stress-free exercises for all staff members, focuses on mental stress relief, and they will implement a plan to communicate our resources to staff members for stress relief. The middle school, one goal they have is positive classroom climate. She talked a little bit about that already in her presentation, but each month we're going to recognize one student from each advisory class. From those students, one student's name will be drawn to be the ACMS Student of the Month. They have a recognition prize, free ice cream at lunch for Advisory Student of the Month, and a larger prize package to the ACMS Student of the Month will be given at the end of each month. Criteria for Student of the Month selection is focused on the safe, prepared, responsible expectations that are listed and described in the teacher handbook, which were taught at the beginning of the school year in each grade level. Turner, one of their goals is to continue to maximize physical activity for students, and their action plan involves continuing to provide students opportunity for physical movement through playground equipment, team sports, and walking, even when using recess as a positive reinforcement during the 23-24 school year, providing opportunities for nature walks using the Turner Nature Trail, and incorporating Mindful Mondays for all students during the morning announcements on Mondays. They also have a goal of programs for staff members on physical activity and fitness, and programs for stress management. Their action plan is to reach out to local businesses and fitness facilities to offer incentives, discounts for staff interested in participating in programs for stress management and/or classes around health and wellness. Saffel Street, their goal is creating wellness and self-care program for staff. Provide staff with comprehensive self-care strategies throughout the year. Group will send out strategies monthly, plan monthly staff gatherings, and plan PLC work. Their second goal is to maximize student activity before, during, and after school development of student activity team. And their action plan is to continue to find ways to upgrade our playground area for students and staff. Team will promote physical activity outside of school hours, walking club, and living a healthy lifestyle. Emma B. Ward, their one goal is school level collaboration for student nutrition education. And their action steps are students to be taught about nutrition and health and PE, and collaborate with food service staff to acquire food labels for students to evaluate nutritional value. And Ezra Sparrow, Early Childhood Center. One goal is standards-based physical education instruction, to implement targeted instruction based on the recent update standards and curriculum work done in conjunction with other physical education teachers across the district. And another goal is physical fitness awareness for staff. The action plan: during our monthly staff meeting, a staff member will share a link or a healthy tip encouraging a collaborative approach to fitness among staff members. And so those were the school goals. As far as our school nutrition, once again, thanks to you all and your support, we are once again offering all students free breakfast and lunch through the community eligibility provision, and all students are eating free. We do look at our budget periodically. We're getting ready to look at the budget again for analyzing what we've done the first semester and see what tweaks we need to make to the budget for the second semester, with the goal is to make sure we keep a healthy surplus, because we do have some of the things that are propping up the account a little bit, like some of the ESSER type monies that we had been getting. So we're still looking at that and making sure that we're being responsible with the budget. As far as our buying local, we're continuing to focus on that. We still use Prairie Farms for milk. We have another large order coming in, not tomorrow because of the wind and rain. We've decided we probably better wait for Wednesday for the delivery on that. But for Brenneman and Buck Farm, what chefs want favors. One of the pots of money we have from USDA is DOD, the Department of Defense favors allocation, and what that does is provide American-grown fruits and vegetables, but some of it is also Kentucky's, and it just depends on the time of the year, of course, and what's seasonal, what they can produce or buy from Kentucky farmers. But as an example, cherry tomatoes is one example. When those are in season, that we have local Kentucky-grown fruits and vegetables in our cafeterias. And then lastly, Taylor Bell Ice Cream. We're still partnering with Taylor Bell Ice Cream. As far as the grants go, I talked a little bit about the school help that we've received from federal funds. We also are still involved with the Buy Local grant that you all approved. That's $8,000 annually, and then our local Food for Schools grant, that is $30,012, and all of those have to go towards minimally processed food that is produced in Kentucky. So that helps us offset some of the costs from Prairie Farm and the local beef that we're buying. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have tip request, or trip requests. Consideration to approve the following trip requests. We've got the ACHS All-State Band to attend KMEA, and I guess same for All-State Chorus on the same dates, 2/7 through 2/10 at the Galt House in Louisville. District transportation is required.
No question, motion to approve, Scott Brown.
Second.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Second, Peggy Peach.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Surplus property. Ezra Sparrow Early Childhood Center requests permission to surplus one top freezer refrigerator. The item is no longer used and/or in need of replacing. The refrigerator will be sold or donated or recycled or discarded appropriately.
I make a motion to approve Peggy Peach.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Consideration to approve board procedure 09.14 AP.24 release inspection of student records to third-party authorization for release/inspection of student records.
This is a request to add this AP, which is not a policy. It is a procedure, and it is for the release inspection of student records to third party, authorizing the release of inspection of student records. It provides the school name, date, the boxes to mark released or copy or permit of the inspection, to what student, and the date of their birth, and then the individual or the agency requesting the information and who that is. It also goes in to a series of boxes that can be checked to include all cumulative records, attendance only, grades, standardized tests, data only, special education due process, 504 information, referral evaluation data. There is a new piece of this that I'd like to read just for, because it is new to this form that we have currently had in the past. And that is as follows. The release is effective only for the specified records or types of records, including electronic, on hand as of the date you sign below, unless you specifically authorize further release of the specified records or types of records as follows. It says check and initial one of the following. 1, I authorize ongoing release of the specified records or types of records to the entity individualized specified until student reaches age of 18 unless earlier revoked in writing, and it provides a spot for the initials. The second box that could be checked is I authorize release of the specified records or types of records until the end of the present school year, which would be the end of that year, would be the June 30th date of whatever year we're currently in, unless earlier revoked in writing, and it provides the initials. And it provides a parent guardian signature page and then a student signature line if the student is over the age of 18, and suggests the dates be signed as well. Any questions regarding this procedure?
Who would be the third party that would be requesting this? this isn't given at the beginning of the year as a part of the packet. It would only be given if the parent or the 18 or older student requested it.
It's not a blanket, it's just as a need.
When I do receive these, we do get verification of the signature. We always consult with the attorney. We always look at all of the records that are sent before they are sent to make sure that if there is anything, typically there is not, but if there is anything that needs to be redacted, that it gets redacted with consultation prior to sending any type of record. So we get these more frequently than I'd like to say that we don't. We do get them at least a couple a month. Ms. Betsy, you want to add anything?
Parents sign it and they're aware, but I see no need not to do that. Motion approved, Scott Brown.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With the first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sir, Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
Purchases over $10,000. Consideration to approve cheer trip expenses through Magical Memories for the previously approved trip to UCA, which I believe is the national cheer competition in Orlando, Florida. Expense request is for $11,579.15 to be paid through the cheer account.
This was previously approved at a prior board meeting. Due to the amount being over $10,000, we wanted to make sure that these expenses were approved since they were all over the $10,000 threshold identified in policy.
Motion approved, Scott Brown.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With the first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Jason Collins.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael.
Yes.
James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Yes.
First reading of the revised policy 03.3 or 04.3111.
Last month, you all heard from the auditor, and she suggested two areas of which we needed to look at. One particular policy, which would be policy 04.3111, district issuances of checks, and it was around construction and food service and the creation of POs. She wanted more clarification within paragraph number 3, which reads as such: with the exception of reoccurring monthly payments such as utilities and fixed charges. And we're suggesting the add-in based upon her feedback within the audit: board-approved construction payments, food service purchases, which fall under federal procurement, purchasing, bid procedures may also be excluded at the discretion of the superintendent. Shall be paid without the following supportive information, and it lists the three: the purchase order, the invoice, the confirmation of the invoice, and any travel reimbursement request. So what this does is this avoids monthly purchase requisitions, multiple monthly purchase requisitions for food service by school, by week, and gives us the opportunity to do a payment on those monthly expenses based upon the procurement procedures, the federal guidelines, and it doesn't allow us to have more stricter guidelines than the federal guidelines already hold. And then for construction, we do the pre-bids, we do the bidding, you all approve the bidding, you all do the monthly pay apps. So there's multiple approvals for construction already, and so it just allows us to continue to do that part of it allows us to continue to do the same procedures instead of having monthly POs for all of those bills as well. Mr. White, is there anything you'd like to add on that? I know that was the long way around of saying what Denise had said at the last board meeting.
Yeah, so the auditor last board meeting, one of the things she had a write-up, if you will, for us was we issued a check to the for the construction projects, but we didn't create a PO. And so this just takes that PO process out because it's already an amount that's been approved well in advance. And so then it's coming from the construction folks back to you guys for approval again. We just didn't have another sheet of paper in there that said, hey, it's okay to cut this check, is essentially what it was. But you'd approved cutting the check more than once, really. Really approved it about 3 times with all the BG processes. So to get...
And there's also a big PO that's approved at the beginning of the project. So really, we do have that in place. We just don't have the money.
We don't have a monthly, so instead of creating a monthly process to where we have to sort of estimate every month what are we going to have in purchases to construction, this takes that purchase order process out for us. It's not going to change the amount that's paid. It just changes the way we issue the check, essentially. Same thing for food service. You know, we may have to open a purchase order for food service, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and those costs are up and down depending on what they're purchasing that month. We're still going to have to feed the kids, whether we got the purchase order in place or not. We're still going to pay the bill. It's just this kind of stops that purchase order process to where we're not constantly renewing a purchase order. It's just one less step in the process for us for something that's going to have to be done. And she wanted clarification because it says when applicable or if applicable. So we're basically defining what is applicable here is what we're doing because it wasn't defined. And so she wanted us to sort of define that a little bit better so that we weren't running afoul of our own policy on issuing a check to pay for something that we needed.
The federal guidelines don't require it, and so our board policy based on if applicable would require more stricter, I guess, additional POs for the process. Are there any questions around both of those and/or this policy does need 2 readings? This would be the first reading. If you have any suggestions for the second reading, what we wanted to do was go ahead and get the first reading on the board agenda for tonight so that we could do the second reading at the next month's board meeting. So we would be responding to the auditor's suggestions quickly, you know, the very next month that she made that suggestion. Any questions?
No questions.
We will need to make a motion for this,
Let's go
correct?
ahead and do the first motion approval, and then we'll do the second one.
Can I get a motion to approve the first reading?
Make a motion, Peggy Peach.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Jason Collins.
Yes.
Bob Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael. James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Scott Brown.
Second, Steve Carmichael.
With the first and second, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Jason Collins.
Yes.
Bob Brown.
Yes.
Steve Carmichael. James Sargent. Peggy Peach.
We are adjourned.